Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the quiet stillness that followed the thunderous slam of the door, Jalen stood, the lingering echo highlighting the tense air. His mind was a whirlwind, incessantly replaying the heated exchange with his partner. Melody's parting words rang in his ears. "I crave some solitude. A short break is all I ask. My sister's place awaits." What started as a trivial dispute over mundane household chores had escalated. Like many couples trapped in close quarters, their shared space now felt claustrophobic. Jalen, navigating the apartment, encountered a surreal tranquility, paradoxically stifling. Physical remnants of their quarrel, a forgotten mug, her jacket, revealed themselves. Unlike his side, which consisted mainly of jeans, t-shirts, and button-downs in muted colors, Melody's wardrobe was vibrant and diverse. His fingers trailed over the fabrics, silky blouses, structured dresses, soft sweaters. At the center of her collection hung her favorite blue sundress, lightweight cotton with small white flowers embroidered along the hem. He'd bought it for her birthday last year, and she'd worn it so often during the summer that the color had softened slightly from washing. Without fully understanding why, Jalen pulled the sundress from its hanger, holding it against himself. He glanced in the floor-length mirror mounted on the closet door. The fabric looked small against his 6-foot frame, but something about the color against his skin made him pause. A thought that had lurked in the shadows of his mind for as long as he could remember suddenly rushed forward. What if? Heart pounding, Jalen stripped down to his boxers. He hesitated for only a moment before pulling the sundress over his head. It was snug across his shoulders, but otherwise fit surprisingly well. Melody was tall for a woman, nearly 5'10", and they weren't actually that different in size. He stared at his reflection, absorbing the shock of seeing himself in a dress. His bare legs looked strange beneath the flowy fabric, his masculine shoulders incongruous with the feminine garment. But something about it also felt right. Like putting on glasses for the first time and seeing the world clearly. Moving as if in a dream, Jalen crossed to Melody's dresser and found a pair of white ankle socks. He slipped them on, then located her ballet flats. Too small, but he could just get his feet into them. The transformation was subtle, but powerful. The dress, the socks, the shoes, they changed not just how he looked, but how he moved. He found himself standing differently, walking with smaller steps, holding his arms closer to his body. "Who are you?" he whispered to his reflection. The person in the mirror didn't answer, but for the first time in his life, Jalen felt like he might actually know. He took out his phone and opened the camera app. With shaking hands, he captured several selfies. The lighting wasn't great, but what he saw stunned him. Despite his short hair and masculine features, there was something undeniably feminine about his appearance in the dress, something that looked more authentic than any other photo he'd ever taken of himself. Emboldened, Jalen returned to Melody's closet. Over the next hour, he tried on outfit after outfit. Her purple sweater dress hugged his torso and fell just above his knees. A denim skirt paired with a floral blouse transformed him further. Each new combination revealed another piece of a puzzle he hadn't known he was solving. By midnight, clothes were strewn across the bed, and Jalen had settled on the blue sundress again. It was the first, and somehow it felt the most meaningful. He sat at Melody's vanity, studying his face. Without makeup, he still looked like himself, but the person in the mirror felt more honest than the one who had lived in his skin for 28 years. "Elise," he whispered, trying the name that had always lingered at the edges of his dreams. It felt right on his tongue, like coming home. That night, Jalen slept in the blue sundress, curled on his side of the bed. For the first time in months, he didn't toss and turn. He slept deeply, dreamlessly, peacefully. The weekend passed in a blur of discovery. He spent Saturday learning how to walk in Melody's heels, experimenting with her makeup, watching tutorials online. By Sunday morning, he could apply a basic foundation, blush, and mascara. His attempts at eyeliner were still wobbly, but improving. Sunday afternoon, Elise now, at least in the privacy of the apartment, stood in front of the mirror in a navy blue pencil skirt and white blouse. Hair still short but styled differently, makeup subtle but effective, posture transformed. The person in the mirror was someone new, someone real. The sound of keys in the front door shattered the moment. "Jalen?" Melody's voice called from the entryway. "I'm back early. Martha's kids were driving me crazy, and I missed..." She stopped in the bedroom doorway, eyes widening as she took in the scene. Her clothes scattered everywhere, her boyfriend standing in her skirt and blouse, wearing her makeup. Time suspended between them. Elise couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't think. This wasn't how this was supposed to happen. There should have been a careful conversation, an explanation, not this sudden collision of worlds. "I can explain," Elise finally managed, voice cracking. Melody's expression was unreadable. She set her overnight bag down slowly. "I'll make coffee," she said after a long pause. "Change if you want to, or don't, but I think we need to talk." 15 minutes later, they sat across from each other at the kitchen table, 2 mugs of coffee between them. Elise had remained in the skirt and blouse, a decision that felt both terrifying and necessary. "How long?" Melody asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Forever," Elise replied truthfully. "But I didn't understand it until now. Until this weekend."
"And the name you whispered when I walked in? Elise?"
Heat flooded Elise's cheeks. "You heard that?" "I did." Melody took a sip of her coffee. "It suits you better than Jalen, actually." The simple statement, delivered so matter-of-factly, broke something open inside Elise. Tears welled up and spilled over before she could stop them. "I didn't know how to tell you," she whispered. "I barely know how to tell myself." Melody reached across the table and took her hand. "You could start at the beginning." So Elise did. She talked about childhood memories of wanting to play with dolls instead of trucks, of envying girls' clothes, of always feeling like she was playing a part rather than living authentically. She explained how putting on the blue sundress had been like turning on a light in a room that had been dark her entire life. "I don't know what this means yet," Elise admitted. "I don't know if I'm transgender or if this is something else. But I know that for the first time, I feel like me." Melody listened without interruption, her fingers still intertwined with Elise's. When the story was finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "I always sensed there was something you were holding back," she finally said. "Some essential piece of yourself you couldn't share. I thought maybe you didn't trust me enough. I never imagined it was because you didn't know yourself. Are you angry? About the clothes?" Melody smiled faintly. "No." "About the fact that it took an argument and me leaving for you to discover this about yourself? A little. We've been together 3 years, Jalen, Elise. That's a long time to not know such a fundamental thing about your partner." "I'm sorry," Elise whispered. Don't apologize for being yourself. Just don't shut me out of the process, okay? Whatever this journey is, I want to be part of it. If you'll let me. Hope, fragile but persistent, blossomed in Elise's chest. You mean you're not breaking up with me? Is that what you thought would happen? Melody squeezed her hand. I fell in love with the person you are, not just the package you come in. If that package is changing, we'll figure it out together. Tears flowed freely down Elise's cheeks, smudging the carefully applied mascara. I don't deserve you. Probably not, Melody agreed with a small smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. She paused, studying Elise's face. You know, with your bone structure, you make a beautiful woman. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of adjustment and discovery. Melody helped Elise shop for her own clothes, guiding her toward styles that flattered her figure while honoring her emerging sense of self. Together, they cleared half of the closet for Elise's growing wardrobe, dresses, skirts, blouses, and jeans cut for a woman's body. The blue sundress remained special, moved to a place of honor at the front of the rack. Your Genesis dress, Melody called it. Elise started growing out her hair, watching with fascination as her natural blonde locks began to soften her features. She learned to care for it differently, using Melody's shampoo and conditioner, basking in the subtle floral scent that lingered after showering. Work presented a more complex challenge. As a graphic designer at a mid-sized marketing firm, Jalen had always kept to himself, friendly but not close with his colleagues. The transition to Elise would be public and unavoidable. What if I lose my job? She asked one evening, curled up on the couch in leggings and an oversized sweater, her makeup removed, but her essence fully female now. Then you'll find another one, Melody said simply. But hiding who you are isn't an option anymore, is it? It wasn't. The thought of putting on men's clothes, of being Jalen for 8 hours a day, made Elise physically ill. She had crossed a threshold and couldn't go back. After consultation with an employment attorney who specialized in LGBTQ issues, Elise scheduled a meeting with her supervisor and the HR director. She arrived in black slacks and a burgundy blouse, hair styled as femininely as its still growing length would allow, makeup subtle but unmistakable. I wanted to inform you that I'm transgender, she stated, her prepared speech forgotten in the moment. My name is Elise now, and I use she, her pronouns. I hope the company will support me during this transition. The HR director, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, spoke first. Thank you for trusting us with this information, Elise. The company has policies in place to support employees through gender transitions. We'll work with you to make this as smooth as possible. Her supervisor, Marcus, seemed more taken aback, but recovered quickly. Your work has always been excellent. That's what matters to me. We'll need to update your email and security badge, and I'll make an announcement to the team. Relief flooded through Elise. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. The company-wide email went out that afternoon. By the next day, Elise's email signature had been changed, and a new security badge with her correct name was waiting for her. There were awkward moments, of course, colleagues who stumbled over pronouns, clients who knew her as Jalen asking questions, a few uncomfortable stares in the bathroom. But overall, the transition at work went more smoothly than she had feared. 6 months into her new life, Elise sat at her vanity, brushing her blonde hair, which now reached just past her chin. The face that looked back at her from the mirror was softer, happier. Hormone therapy, started 3 months ago, had begun to reshape her features in subtle ways: smoother skin, a slight fullness to her cheeks, the beginning of breast development that she no longer had to simulate with padding. Melody appeared behind her, wrapping her arms around Elise's shoulders. "Ready for dinner? The reservation is at 8. "Almost." Elise applied a final coat of lip gloss, pale pink, her signature shade. "Anniversary nerves." "1 year since the blue dress," Melody said, kissing the top of her head. "Best argument we ever had." They had decided to celebrate this date, rather than their original anniversary. The day when Elise had truly begun, when the woman she had always been inside had finally emerged. The restaurant was upscale, with candlelight and white tablecloths. Elise wore a black cocktail dress that accentuated her increasingly feminine figure, while Melody stunned in a silver sheath that caught the light when she moved. Over dessert, chocolate soufflé to share. Melody reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. "What's this?" Elise asked, setting down her spoon. "Open it and see." Inside the box was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a sundress. "Melody," Elise breathed, touching the pendant gently. "It's beautiful." "To commemorate the dress that helped you find yourself." Melody took the necklace and moved behind Elise to fasten it around her neck. "And to remind you that sometimes what seems like an ending is really a beginning." The necklace felt cool against Elise's skin, a perfect weight, a tangible reminder of her journey. "I have something for you too," she said, reaching into her clutch. "It's not as symbolic, but—" She passed a small velvet box across the table. Melody's eyes widened as she opened it to reveal a platinum ring set with a row of small diamonds. "Elise." "It's not an engagement ring," Elise clarified quickly. "Not yet. I want to be further along in my transition before we make that kind of commitment, but it is a promise that I will always be honest with you about who I am, that I will never again hide parts of myself, that one day, when I'm ready, I'll ask you properly." Tears glistened in Melody's eyes as she slipped the ring onto her right hand. "It's perfect." Later that night, as they lay together in bed, Melody traced lazy patterns on Elise's arm. "Do you ever regret it? Coming out, transitioning, everything changing so fast?" Elise considered the question seriously. The past year had been difficult in many ways. She had lost touch with some friends, faced discrimination, endured painful electrolysis, and the emotional roller coaster of hormone therapy. Her relationship with her parents remained strained, though they were trying. "No," she said finally. "I regret the years I spent not knowing myself, not living authentically, but never this. Never becoming who I really am." "I'm proud of you," Melody murmured, snuggling closer. "So proud. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You're stronger than you know, but I'm glad you didn't have to." The next major milestone came 3 months later, when Elise legally changed her name. Standing before a judge in a conservative gray dress, she formally bid farewell to Jalen and embraced Elise completely. Melody sat in the gallery, beaming with pride. Afterward, they celebrated with a small gathering of friends who had supported them throughout the journey. "To Elise," Melody toasted, raising her glass, who had the courage to become herself. "And to all of you," Elise added, "who had the compassion to let me." That night, Elise stood before her closet, running her fingers over the clothes that now defined her outward appearance. Dresses, blouses, skirts, all hers, all chosen with care to express who she truly was. At the front still hung the blue sundress, now slightly too big as hormone therapy had reshaped her body, but preserved as a touchstone, a sacred object. She slipped it off its hanger and held it to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered to the garment that had changed everything. The journey wasn't over. Transition was a marathon, not a sprint. There would be more changes, more challenges, more growth. But for the first time in her life, Elise was moving forward as her true self, one step at a time, in comfortable shoes that finally fit. The second anniversary of her rebirth found Elise in the hospital, recovering from facial feminization surgery. The procedures, a subtle reshaping of her jawline, a refinement of her brow and nose, had been carefully chosen to enhance her natural features while bringing them into alignment with her gender identity. Melody had been by her side throughout, from the consultations with surgeons to the recovery room. Now she sat beside the hospital bed, holding Elise's hand as they watched cooking shows on the small television mounted to the wall. "How's the pain?" Melody asked during a commercial break. "Manageable," Elise replied, her speech slightly slurred from swelling. "Worth it. The doctor said the results will be subtle but significant once the swelling goes down. Not that you weren't already beautiful." Elise squeezed her hand. "Flatterer." "Honest admirer," Melody corrected with a smile. "I've been thinking. Dangerous," Elise teased. "Maybe it's time to look for a bigger place. The apartment was fine for 2 people, but with all our clothes combined, we're bursting at the seams. You just want a walk-in closet. Guilty as charged, but also, I thought, maybe we could look for somewhere with an extra bedroom for the future." Elise's heart skipped a beat. They had discussed children before, in an abstract way, but this was the first concrete step toward family planning. "You mean, only if you want to, only when you're ready. But yes, I'm thinking about our family, the one we might build together." Despite the pain and bandages, Elise felt a surge of joy. "I've been banking sperm before hormone therapy affected fertility, just in case." "I know. That's why I thought it might be time to have the conversation." "Melody Campbell," Elise said, suddenly emotional. "Are you asking me to have babies with you?" "Eventually, yes, but first I think we should get married." The world seemed to stop. "Is that a proposal?" "It's a pre-proposal," Melody clarified. "I want to do it properly. Romantic setting, down on one knee, the whole 9 yards. But I also wanted to make sure you were ready to take that step." Tears welled in Elise's eyes. "I've been ready for months. I was waiting for the right moment to ask you." "Well," Melody said, bringing Elise's hand to her lips for a gentle kiss. "Now we can plan our proposals together. Typical us. Even our engagement has to be a collaborative project." They both laughed, and then Elise winced as the movement pulled at her surgical sites. "Sorry," Melody said, looking concerned. "Don't be. I'd rather laugh through pain than never laugh at all." 3 weeks later, when the worst of the swelling had subsided, Elise stood before the bathroom mirror, studying her new face. The changes were subtle, as promised, a softening here, a refinement there, but the cumulative effect was remarkable. She looked more like herself than ever before. Her blonde hair, now falling past her shoulders, framed features that aligned perfectly with her inner sense of self. She ran her fingers lightly over her jawline, still tender, but healing well. "Beautiful," Melody said from the doorway. Elise turned, smiling. The outside is finally catching up to the inside. That night, they made love for the first time since the surgery, carefully, tenderly, with an awareness of Elise's still healing body. Afterward, lying in each other's arms, Elise felt a completeness she had never imagined possible. "I want to visit my parents," she said quietly into the darkness. "It's been almost a year." Melody's arm tightened around her waist. "Are you sure you're ready?" "No," Elise admitted. "But I need to try. They're making an effort. The birthday card with my correct name. The awkward phone calls. I think seeing me might help them understand."
"Then we'll go together."
The drive to Elise's hometown took 3 hours. She spent most of it in nervous silence, fidgeting with the sundress pendant that had become her constant accessory. She had chosen her outfit carefully, a knee-length navy dress with short sleeves, conservative but undeniably feminine. "What if they don't recognize me?" she asked as they turned onto her parents' street. "They will," Melody assured her. "You're still you, Elise. Your eyes haven't changed, nor has your heart." The house looked exactly as it had always looked. A modest 2-story colonial with white trim and blue shutters. Elise's father's car sat in the driveway, alongside her mother's garden gnome collection. Taking a deep breath, Elise walked to the front door, Melody a reassuring presence beside her. She raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can," Melody said firmly. "Remember who you are." Before Elise could respond, the door opened. Her mother stood there, looking older than Elise remembered, her hair more gray than brown now. "I saw the car pull up," she explained, her eyes wide as she took in the sight of her daughter. Elise, you look different," Elise supplied, heart pounding. "Beautiful," her mother finished, tears filling her eyes. "Come in, both of you. Your father's in the den." The inside of the house hadn't changed either. The same furniture, the same family photos on the walls. Elise noticed that a recent addition had been made to the gallery, a framed copy of her name change document. Her father rose from his recliner when they entered the den. He was a tall man, stoic by nature, uncomfortable with emotional displays. For a moment, he simply stared at Elise, taking in her appearance. "Dad?" she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You look like your Aunt Charlotte," he said finally. "My sister. Same eyes." It wasn't exactly a warm welcome, but it was acknowledgement. Elise felt tears threatening. "I wouldn't know. I've never met her." "She lives in Arizona now. We should arrange a visit." He cleared his throat awkwardly. "Your mother made lunch." The meal was strained at first, with careful conversation about neutral topics, the weather, Melody's work, local news. But gradually, as they shared the food that Elise had grown up eating, the tension began to ease. "We've been learning," her mother said as she served dessert. "There's a support group for parents at the community center. We've gone a few times."
"Really?"
Elise couldn't hide her surprise.
"Don't look so shocked,"
her father grumbled.
"We're old, not incapable of growth."
"I never thought you were incapable," Elise said carefully. "I just didn't know if you wanted to grow in this direction." Her father set down his fork.
"You're our child. We don't understand everything about this situation, but we're trying. That's what parents do."
The simple statement delivered in her father's matter-of-fact manner, broke through Elise's remaining defenses. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks. "Thank you," she managed. Her mother reached across the table and took her hand. "We love you. That hasn't changed." Before they left, Elise's mother pulled her aside. "I have something for you," she said, pressing a small box into Elise's hands. "It was my mother's." Inside was a vintage brooch, a small flower crafted from pearls and gold. "She would have wanted you to have it," her mother said. "She always said jewelry should be passed from mother to daughter." The recognition of her gender, so simple and profound, left Elise speechless. She hugged her mother tightly, the brooch clutched in her hand. On the drive home, Elise was quiet again, but with a different quality, peaceful rather than anxious. "They're trying," she said finally, as the city skyline came into view. "That's more than I hoped for." "People can surprise you," Melody replied, "when given the chance." The third anniversary of Elise's rebirth was marked by two significant events. Her gender marker was legally changed on all her identification, and Melody proposed on a moonlit beach, as promised. The wedding was planned for the following spring, a garden ceremony with close friends and family. Elise's parents had agreed to attend, her father even offering to walk her down the aisle. "Are you nervous about dress shopping?" Melody asked one evening as they reviewed wedding venues online. "It's a big moment for any bride." Elise considered the question. "Not nervous exactly, but I keep thinking about that blue sundress. How it changed everything." "You should wear blue," Melody suggested. "Not the sundress itself, but something in that shade, as a tribute to where it all began." The idea resonated deeply. "What about you? What will you wear?" "I'm thinking white. Traditional."
One of us should be.
Their wedding attire became a shared project, with both women contributing ideas and opinions. Elise eventually found a designer who created a custom gown in the exact shade of the original sundress, a flowing A-line with delicate embroidery reminiscent of the flowers on the hem of that first significant garment. The dress fitting was an emotional experience. Standing on a pedestal in the bridal salon, surrounded by mirrors that reflected her from every angle, Elise saw herself as a bride, something she had never imagined possible in her former life. "You look radiant," the salon owner said, adjusting the hem. "Your fiancé is a lucky woman." "I'm the lucky one," Elise replied, thinking of all Melody had witnessed and supported over the past 3 years. Later that week, they met with the wedding photographer, a cheerful woman who specialized in LGBTQ weddings. "Any specific shots you want to make sure we capture?" she asked as they reviewed her portfolio. "The usual moments," Melody began. "First look, ceremony, first dance. And something with this," Elise added, touching the sundress pendant at her throat. "It's important to our story." The photographer nodded, making a note. "I'll make sure we get some beautiful close-ups." As the wedding date approached, Elise found herself reflecting more and more on her journey. One evening, sitting at her vanity, the same one where she had first experienced herself as Elise, she opened her journal and began to write. 3 years ago, I was a stranger to myself, living in a body that felt borrowed, in a life that seemed scripted by someone else. I couldn't have imagined then where this path would lead. To surgery and hormones, yes, but more importantly to truth and authenticity. To standing before the mirror and recognizing the person who looks back. To planning a wedding where I will be the bride, wearing blue to honor the dress that helped me find myself. The journey hasn't always been easy. There have been losses along the way. Friends who couldn't accept me, opportunities missed because of who I am. But what I've gained is immeasurable. Self-knowledge, genuine relationships, the freedom to be fully present in my own life. In 2 weeks, I will marry the woman who held my hand through every step of this transformation, who saw me when I couldn't see myself, who loved me through changing bodies and names and pronouns. Our vows will be a continuation of promises already made and kept, to honor each other's truths, to walk side by side through whatever comes next. The blue sundress hangs in my closet still. I don't wear it anymore. It belongs to a particular moment in time, a threshold crossed. But I look at it sometimes, touch the cotton fabric that has softened with age, and remember the person I was and the person I've become. Becoming Elise wasn't about changing who I am, but about revealing who I've always been. The dress was just the beginning. The life is the real transformation. She closed the journal and looked at herself in the mirror. Blonde hair now long and styled in loose waves. Features feminine and aligned with her inner self. Eyes that had seen both sides of the gender divide and now rested comfortably on the truth. Elise, she said to her reflection, loving the sound of her name. Bride, wife, woman, finally, completely myself. The wedding day dawned clear and bright, perfect weather for a garden ceremony. In separate dressing rooms, the brides prepared with their respective attendants, Melody with her sisters, Elise with her cousin, and 2 close friends from work. Something borrowed, her cousin said, fastening the pearl brooch from Elise's grandmother to the bodice of her blue gown. Something old, too, I guess.
Something new is the dress,
one friend added, smoothing the fabric. And something blue is, well, all of it. The other friend produced a delicate anklet with small silver charms. And this is just because I saw it and thought of you. Surrounded by women who loved and accepted her, Elise felt a profound sense of belonging. This was her community, her chosen family, expanded now to include blood relatives who had made the journey with her. Her father knocked on the door, already emotional before the ceremony had even begun.
It's time,
he said, offering his arm. Ready, daughter? The word, so simple, so right, brought tears to Elise's eyes. Ready, Dad? They walked together through the garden to where Melody waited beneath an arch twined with flowers. Seeing her in her white gown, Elise felt her heart swell with love and gratitude. As they exchanged vows, Elise wore not only her blue dress but all the layers of her journey, the uncertainty and discovery, the courage and vulnerability, the letting go and becoming. The sundress pendant rested against her throat, catching the sunlight, a constant reminder of beginnings. I promise to love you as completely as you have loved me, she told Melody, voice steady despite her emotions. To build a life with you that honors both our truths. To walk beside you through all the transformations yet to come. When the officiant pronounced them married, the gathered friends and family erupted in applause. Elise and Melody shared their first kiss as wives, a moment of perfect alignment between inner truth and outer reality. At the reception, they danced beneath market lights strung through the trees, their dresses, one blue, one white, swirling together as they moved. Happy? Melody asked, her lips close to Elise's ear. Beyond words, Elise replied. I never imagined this was possible. What's next for us? Melody's eyes sparkled with mischief and love. Now that you've become Elise, wife and woman? Elise thought about the fertility appointments they'd scheduled for the following month, the house they were in escrow for, the lifetime of ordinary and extraordinary moments stretching before them. "Everything," she said simply. "Everything is next." Later, as they cut the cake, 3 tiers with blue and white flowers cascading down the side, Elise caught sight of the blue sundress pendant in a flash of photography. Elise, with every step, was leaving the remnants of her past behind, like petals drifting away from a blooming flower. And though they faded away, these remnants imbued her with strength as she walked toward a future radiant with possibility. As the car moved along the highway, the faces of the crowd blurred and then disappeared, just as the blue sky melted into a deepening shade of twilight. This wedding signified a new beginning, an indelible mark on her soul's timeline, one that would forever distinguish the before and after. With each mile, a newfound sense of empowerment coursed through Elise's veins, fueled by the unconditional love she had found in Melody's embrace and the unwavering support of her chosen family. The road ahead promised adventure and joy, hardships and lessons, but she would face it all with a resplendence that could only come from accepting and loving one's true self. They would tackle life's challenges together, Elise and Melody, their love a beacon of light and resilience, a testament that true transformation is a never-ending journey and that home is wherever they were, together.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!